It might be more difficult than usual to find a parking spot today, but that's sort of the point. Today's the day that New Yorkers are taking over certain spots to convert them to parks. New Yorkers Tara Lynn Wagner in Morningside Heights today with this transportation alternatives parking space becomes public space switch. Good morning, Tara Lynn.
Good morning, Pat. And I don't want to give away my age here or anything, but about 2 years ago, there was a song by the Talking Heads that included a line that said, "There was a parking lot, now there's a peaceful oasis." And that seems to be a pretty good way to describe what's going on across the city today. It is, as you mentioned, parking day, and there are going to be some 51 parking spaces being taken over for public use all across the city. And here to tell us a little bit more about that is Wiley Norvell with Transportation Alternatives. So what is the idea behind Parking Day?
Well, here in New York, streets are 80% of our public space, and Parking Day is about jarring New Yorkers out of the notion that that space has to be all car all the time. So we put it to more creative uses.
What are some of these uses? What kind of things can people expect to see in the parking spaces today?
We have storytelling out in front of libraries for children. We have recreational areas set up in front of senior centers. Or up here at Columbia, where we are, they have a rainwater, gray water, watered garden. And we have a lot of community gardens and eco uses all across the city, where this 125 square feet of asphalt is going to greener, more environmentally friendly uses.
And this is happening across all 5 boroughs?
It's happening in 4 boroughs today here in New York City, but Parking Day is observed in more than 100 cities across the world.
Now, I talked to a couple of drivers this morning who were looking for spots and were not too pleased to see some of the spots taken up. What would you say to them about today?
Well, we have hundreds of thousands of parking spaces in New York City, and well, here we're taking 51. I think 4 boroughs can handle 51 spots on one day.
Great. All right. And if people want to find out more, there's a website that they can go to. Can you tell us a little bit about what they find there?
Sure. People can go to parkingdaynyc.org. We have a blog, live photos being put up about all the things happening today. And more importantly, there's a maps of where all the spots are. You can go have lunch in one of them if they're near your office.
Now, this is great for one day, but can you legally just say as a community, we're going to take back this parking space and turn it into a park or a little rest area or something?
Well, when New York City is reclaiming Broadway for pedestrians in the middle of Times Square, why can't the parking spot in front of your house be benches and trees? If that's really what your community wants, you can go to your community board, go to the Department of Transportation, and tell them that's what you want.
All right, so there is a process. You're not just allowed to walk outside and say, we are taking back this land. There's a process to go to, but hopefully people will get some ideas today and maybe a little bit of encouragement to go ahead and try and work through that. Again, if you would like to find out where these 51 spots are across the city, you can find them at www.parkingdaynyc.org. They have a map and you can find out everything that's going on. A lot of good things going on across the city today. Pat?
Tara Lynn, interesting story. Thanks very much.
And now, here's a look at what's happening in your neighborhood.
The idea is taking back the streets. Transportation Alternatives is organizing an effort today for New Yorkers to take over parking spaces, making them into something else, like a neighborhood park or some sort of amusement. New Yorkers Tara Lynn Wagner is in Morningside Heights this morning checking out one of these pop-up parks. Good morning, Tara Lynn.
Good morning, Pat. And if you're wondering just how much you can actually do with a 125 square foot parking space, the answer seems to be you can build a little television studio here. And I'm joined on my little set with Peter Adams, who is a student at Columbia University and the co-president of the Green Builders at Columbia. Tell me a little bit about what you guys have created in your parking space today.
Well, to make the parking space fun, we've kind of created a game about wastewater management. And we've also made some seating and positioned it strategically between the bus stop and the subway exit. So we're hoping to really have a lot of fun there.
And what do you want people to get out of this spot that you have here? I mean, do you really expect people to come and just sit here in the middle of the street today?
Well, why don't I show you how the game works? And you see, it's a lot of fun. There's also an opportunity to win a plant if you do it right.
And you're demonstrating the theory behind?
Yeah, wastewater management. We really want to kind of start a conversation with people about the opportunity for bioremediation as far as wastewater management goes. So that people are aware that plants can do the job that huge factories have done.
All right, so bioremediation may be a very big word, but it really just involves water balloons. So I'm going to go over here and give this game a try. All right.
You ready?
You take this.
Okay.
All right, so basically, Pat, what you're going to try and do here is we want to take a water balloon. You want to get it into the toilet.
Yeah.
And it's going to rain down and water a plant.
Now, has anybody tried to park here while you've been doing this?
No, no one has tried to park in this spot yet, except us. We've been parked here for quite some time.
Okay.
All right, so here we go.
Try number one.
Number one. Whoa!
Oh.
It didn't break. Did it? It did.
Oh,
Look,
now he's
there it
plunging
goes. It is plunging it. The water's being recycled and used to water a plant down there. So I think I just won is basically what happens here. I get to take that plant home. I'll bring it back to the office for all of us to enjoy. But this is going on all across the city today in 4 of the 5 boroughs, 51 parking spaces with all sorts of different things. There's going to be someone performing Shakespeare. There's community gardens, so a lot going on, and you can find out where all these parking spaces are by visiting parkingdaynyc.org. It'll tell you exactly where to find all of the different activities that are going on today. A lot of fun, though, and a good way to take back just a little bit of the city. Pat?
It's fun, except if you're a driver looking around for a parking spot today.
Yeah, no, the drivers I spoke to this morning were not all that happy, but you know, there's thousands and thousands of parking spaces in the city, although it always feels like you can never find one, and we're just talking about 51 spaces today.
All right, Carolyn, thank you.
Thank you.
From parking space to public space, a few spots around the city are encouraging New Yorkers to take a break while sitting curbside. The advocacy group Transportation Alternatives has converted 51 street parking spaces into parks, plazas, and in some cases, a place to play games for Parking Day NYC. The spots can be found in Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. Organizers say it's a chance to teach everyone how to transform their environment.
Normally you just park your car, you take up the space, and you don't really think what else that space could be used for. But when you look at these things, it's like, hey, that could be a park.
We're transforming Broadway into a pedestrian mall in Times Square and Herald Square. Why not the parking spot in front of your house into benches and trees if that's what you think your neighborhood needs?
While it may be a little harder for drivers to find parking, the event only lasts one day. And if you want to find a space to park yourself, you can visit parkingdaynyc.org for a spot near you. Some city residents park themselves, not their cars, in some parking spots around town. It's all part of a new green initiative, and our Tara Lynn Wagner has details.
From tables in Times Square to trees where train tracks used to be, pedestrians are taking back the city's public spaces. On Friday morning, they parked themselves in makeshift plazas, setting up camp in 51 spots normally reserved for cars.
This is your public space, and you have a right to it, whether you have a car or not.
The event, known as Parking Day, started in San Francisco in 2006 and is now taking place in 100 cities around the world. This is the 3rd year New Yorkers have kicked cars away from the curb in the hope that people will see a different side of the road.
Normally you just park your car, you take up the space, and you don't really think what else that space could be used for. But when you look at these things, it's like, hey, that could be a park.
Or a soccer field, or a beach, or a lesson. This Plinko-style site aims to promote bike safety, using marbles to weave around taxis in an effort to get to a safe bike lane and hopefully avoid potholes along the way. Other sites just aim to give people a place to park themselves for a coffee and a chat.
We're just looking to have a relaxing, like, nice atmosphere in a place where there usually would be commotion and chaos.
Which is what drivers complain they get out of the annual event. While parking is a nightmare most days, they say a stunt like this exacerbates the problem, even if it's just for one day.
I understand, but still, when you got to work in the city every day, one day is like 100 days. It never stops. It's hard enough.
But here's a thought. What if people start tossing around the idea of taking back these spaces permanently? Could an idea like this burst into something bigger?
We're transforming Broadway into a pedestrian mall in Times Square and Herald Square. Why not the parking spot in front of your house into benches and trees if that's what you think your neighborhood needs? You can go to your community board, the Department of Transportation, and us, and work to make that happen.
If everybody does that, though, where are we going to put the cars?
That sounds like a gorgeous idea, actually.
Don't worry, drivers. For now, at least, these mini parks are only momentary. In Morningside Heights, Tara Lynn Wagner, New York 1.